Hello, everybody. It's Mary Lynn Harris here of Hard at Work, and I'm here with Corey Harnish, and we're going to be talking about creating an impactful legacy in your business. He was saying he does a little tech stuff with kindness, and he mostly coaches individuals and their mindset and how they all that affects. I'm going to unmute you here. Um, affects the workplace, because if you are having problems, obviously you're going to affect the workplace as well. So Corey, welcome to the podcast series of Creating an Impactful Legacy. And so can you tell us a little bit about how you got started in what you're doing?
Yeah, of course. It actually began, let's say, I think 6 years ago to date, something like this. Uh, I began my journey with coaching, working in a college specifically, um, helping students that were on quote unquote academic probation. So these students who were potentially being removed from the college due to their grades.
Mm-hmm.
So my goal was to work with them on helping to create a system or a habit, if you will, to improve their academic performance. And what I had learned was that a lot of these individuals who were struggling academically, the problem wasn't their academics, it was something that was going on internally, whether it was emotional well-being, some kind of social concern, or just a lack of a productivity structure.
Mm-hmm.
And so from that, I really welcomed and started expanding beyond just students who were academically suffering to even working on some of the students at the college who were honors level, but that wanted that extra push or some kind of mechanism to help them grow beyond where they were.
Mm-hmm.
So this really, if you will, like ignited my journey. And from the coaching, I really zoned in on how to help facilitate behavior change.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I began working on a couple of projects using, as you mentioned, technology for behavior change here.
Mm-hmm.
It was we create a system to create more of a culture of kindness or inclusiveness in schools for experiential learning,
Mm-hmm.
as well as in preparations for more employee engagement type activity.
Right, right. So tell me a little bit more is it that you use technology, or do you just have a program in which you help your clients to embrace or use?
Yeah, so one program in particular, it's called the Good Cards. And so what happens is you get this cute little card
Mm-hmm.
that on the back it has a QR code which you would scan in an app. And when you scan this card, you receive a mission to do some sort of act of kindness, whether it's
Okay.
an anonymous good deed for somebody in the office, maybe it's going out in the world and cleaning up litter.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do is you share a story in the application about what you did, maybe add a little picture, and then you give this physical card onto somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that as this card's traveling from person to person, you
Mm-hmm.
can actually track it and
Right,
you can see that ripple effect of kindness you've created.
right.
So when we use this in different schools or corporate settings, sometimes even events,
Mm-hmm.
uh, a couple interesting things that happen here is one, we can create like a customized activation
Yeah,
just to that community group.
right.
So we can really maybe it's helping with a local organization, or maybe it's something that really aligns with the branding of that company or their purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then we have an option where you can just see the impact of your community specifically.
Right.
So this would allow people to kind of see a map of just what's going on with their community members or their employees in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so yeah, this is one of the main programs we do.
Okay, because I was just thinking, I wonder if because you have it in a school or that type of environment, if you would have more people up the ante. Okay, I did this, you got to up the ante or something. If you ever find any of that going on.
Yeah, sometimes like people get very like uh, I wouldn't say competitive, but like
Yeah.
excited about how many ripples or how many people have been involved in their chain. Or I know sometimes like with teachers, they get really excited to see how their class as a whole, how
Mhm.
many acts of kindness they were able to produce. So we help with different recordings, and I think sometimes in the like I really see different companies that like almost like department by department see how is the marketing department performing better than the tech people,
Yeah.
things like this.
Right. Yeah. I have a kind of hero award, so maybe we can collaborate
Yes,
on that.
yeah. There's a. I think it's beautiful. It's like really recognizing
Yeah.
people that are taking the initiative. Sometimes I've heard it as like happiness activists.
Yeah.
Um, I've heard it as like cultural influencers.
Hmm. Yeah. 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 I started doing the Kindness Hero Awards way back in 2001 to 2015. So one of the things I want to do is kind of
Beautiful.
bring them back. So maybe we can collaborate on doing something like that. Because it sounds like you're kind of doing the acts of kindness or implementing a way of doing it, and then how can we acknowledge these people too? Because I think they'll keep doing it if there's some sort of acknowledgement, right?
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's really nice is like the people who are getting acknowledged. For instance, they had an experience of doing the good, and so they felt that positive impact of
Right.
giving kindness to somebody else. And the science even shows that when we do a good deed, we as the giver
Mhm.
are benefiting emotionally as much, if not more, than the receiver. And so
Right.
um, I think like they go hand in hand, being able to acknowledge the doing, but even just to do is super powerful.
Right. Right. Yeah, because the act of giving for the sake of giving, that would give us more of a high than, like you said, the person that's receiving necessarily, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but a lot of people I've seen are a little resistant to it
Hmm.
because kindness is, I guess, too warm and fuzzy for some people.
Yeah.
But then once you have that initial opportunity to perform kindness, it almost is like you said, a high. You want to do more of
Right. Yeah, it's a free high.
it. Yeah,
A
it is.
natural high.
And similar with coaching, right? Like when I get in a flow with somebody and I'm really a couple steps ahead of them, guiding them to a discovery that they might not have realized. It's like
Right.
very high energy. Like, oh my goodness, they're gonna realize this, or they're gonna get ready for a shift.
Right. 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 Cool. Cool. So tell me some more things that you find your clients face or other obstacles that you're able to help them with.
Yeah, I literally was a couple of minutes late to our call because I was in a coaching session.
Hmm.
This particular person, I check in with them monthly now,
Hmm.
uh, and this is actually a good example. The irony is that they're working on building a coaching company of their own.
Hmm.
That's all about the idea of unconditional love.
Right.
But today he showed up not feeling loving to self.
Hmm.
So we did like a lot of exploration on not what was blocking it, but what would be those things that he wanted to be more in love with, or what were those things that he thinks needs to get integrated into his everyday.
Right.
So this is an example. I've worked with some folks on a spectrum of the traditional how do I go about doing interviews and coaching them through like a process of preparing or even mocking the interview with them. I've worked with some folks on building relationships and
Hmm.
figuring out how to make friends,
Hmm.
um, to people who wanted to create more of a quote unquote meta awareness. So, how can I get more in tune with my internal thoughts?
Right.
What can I do to be more mindful of what shows up when I have a certain emotion come to mind? Is it the thought that's guiding it, or is it an emotion, or maybe even some external trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then even I've worked with some folks on not knowing what their passion is, and guiding them through even defining what passion means to them, and then exploring if there's different hobbies in their life that they might be able to turn into more of a career, or a type of work that they didn't even realize they were passionate about because it was through somebody else's organization, let's say.
Right. Right. And so
And
you were
it,
saying earlier before we got on the call that you work with people that have maybe some emotional or physical disabilities. Do you want to explore a little bit more about that and how that?
yeah, yeah, this is actually, uh, this is challenging work for myself sometimes, but and I think it's good because it always allows me to make sure my coaching is improving.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I do work specifically with individuals with autism or ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
And so my purpose there is trying to help them find more of quote unquote mental independence.
Mm-hmm.
So here it varies from individual to individual. Sometimes it's like one of the people that's showing up to share is a gentleman, one of the most brilliant people I've ever talked to.
Right.
But because he's so brilliant, he struggles with having conversations with an everyday person. And so some of our conversations are getting at the idea of like, what is it that you believe you're connected with everybody, or how can you step out of your mind for a little bit
Mm-hmm.
to something that we take for granted, such as just like knowing how to get up and get out of bed. I've worked with individuals trying to help them be motivated for life.
Mm-hmm.
And the irony is that somebody that I've worked on that with is passionate about music, let's say,
Yeah.
loves playing music, is phenomenal at it, but until he's doing it, his mind doesn't allow him to see his connection to it.
Yeah. Okay.
So just helping to try to create that realization, or more like the physiological connection in his mind of seeing that by triggering himself to step into playing music, he can bring himself to a state of presence, flow, happiness.
Right. Right. Yeah. I guess we all have to have that place where we're in tune, right? We check in with ourselves or check in with wherever is happening that day, right? Okay, let's get the show on the road, or let's rock and roll, or we all have that. I think that internal clock or mindset, if you will, to say that okay, we're checking in. So maybe for that client, like you were saying, it's for him to get into his music to help him get on with his day.
Yeah, and like one of the things we tried, and it's just flowing on this particular example, was on his way to work was playing some of the music that he really loved, and either singing with it or just like imagining what it would be like to be playing his instrument for that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great exercise. The challenge is to get them to be self-accountable to actually step into that experience.
Right. Cool. Cool. Well, it sounds like you have a lot of fun with your clients and really, really help them get to that point where they can, I guess, cope, if you will, if that's a
Yeah,
good word to use, but to get them to move forward, right?
yeah.
Create the life that they want or want to have, accomplish. Yeah. So so you've already shared some great examples of clients you work with and some success stories you've had. So if somebody wanted to work with you, Corey, how would they get a hold of you? Or do you have?
Um, yeah, traditionally, just use LinkedIn, I would say. We can pass out my personal email if you would like
Yeah.
hereafter.
Okay.
But yeah, I think this is the way. And then what I like to do is I always like to do more of an exploration
Mm-hmm.
first. So take some time to just share a little bit about how my personal coaching process works.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do a lot of guiding more so than advising, and so sometimes I've had people that like, well, Corey, what do you think I should do?
Right.
And my approach is more to add in my advice through the specific questions I'm asking.
Mhm.
And then just in that exploration, I like to learn about what it is they're working on,
Mhm.
or what they would like to work, or
Mhm.
maybe see if we can even uncover what to work on.
Right.
Because sometimes people show up and they know they need to make a change, but they have no idea
Right.
what or how or when. And so I like to do this, and then I really believe, at least with my approach, that you may be wanting to work on something, I'm not even sure, but let's say art that I know nothing about. But through strategic and powerful questioning, I can still help facilitate that shift or that growth,
Mhm.
because it's not content specific, it's
Right.
more like a sounding board, or I really like the idea of a thinking partner.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I think we all need accountability partners or people that are willing to listen to us, if anything at all. And then, maybe ask them us questions and that type of thing. So I think that's really key and really important. So, who are the best clients you like to work with?
People that are um, showing up ready to think. um, I remember some of the students I worked with. They had shared like, Corey, after I finished working with you, I just feel tired.
Mhm.
And it was because that they were doing a lot of the thinking and ideating their own,
Mhm.
rather than just being like hand fed the answers.
Right.
So for me, it's more about like the soft skill of the individual, that they're willing to put in the mental energy,
Mhm.
and then from there, I can play my role in helping to uncover what kind of action steps we should take, or how we can guide that conversation.
Mhm.
I'm very open, and I really like many areas of growth, whether it is career, personal, relationship.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that doesn't matter to me. It's more so like, I like to work with somebody who's ready and willing to think with me, I would say.
Right. Right. Yeah. That's otherwise you're just talking to a wall.
Yeah, because there were some students in my past that they had to come to me because of their situation, and they didn't really want to be there and think. And so, in my view of coach, I can only do so much
Mhm.
if you're not participating. Whereas, like, let's say an advisor or a consultant is there to provide you with the answers you're seeking.
Right.
And there are times when I do this,
Mhm.
but that's a whole different hat, I would say.
Right. Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So, anything else you want to share finally before we end the conversation or end this call?
uh, eh, sure. Besides the coaching, I've been involved in what we call social impact entertainment.
Okay.
And so this is like an emerging field. And what we're doing is similar to the good cards, but leveraging TV, film, and games
Mhm.
as a way to spread awareness and create an understanding of different social issues going on in the world,
Mhm.
but activate people to take action.
Mhm.
And the reason for this is that, I mean, everywhere we look, there's content flooding our screens or our phones, that
Yeah.
want to shove a specific message in front of us.
Mhm.
And what we're doing is leveraging these media
Mhm.
to spread positive messages. And it's not just like rainbows and butterflies, but it's more about the nuances. So giving specific character types within the show that are doing things that are very kind and caring, or having scenes where maybe there's like a stereotype where it's not even being addressed, but we're shifting somebody's perception of someone with tattoos, let's say, or how bikers are actually some of the most animal advocacy people out there, but yet the stereotype
Right.
of a biker is that they're these rough, hard people. And
Mm.
so, like these examples, we're using the TV shows as well as some films to shift the higher consciousness, if I could say.
Right.
And I think it's very, in its own way, like analogous with coaching because we're using it, the medium,
Hmm.
to help guide change that, like with kindness, everybody, once you do it, you love it.
Right.
But until you have the opportunity to experience it and feel it,
Yeah.
you have a resistance to it. So
Hmm.
in this world of social impact entertainment, we're leveraging entertainment as a way to help create more openness or interest in being somebody that wants to change.
Right. More conversation around that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially with kids too, right? Like we're always in the classroom, they're always being spoon-fed information, and it's all consuming. But when you give them something that they want to see, whether it's like cool little animated characters or playing with puppies,
Yeah.
you can help them become more attached to the concepts of kindness and compassion
Hmm.
than if you just try to sit them in a chair and talk to them about the theory of kindness and
Right.
compassion.
Right. Yeah. Totally get it. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Well, we'll have to continue this conversation on another time, Corey. Absolutely. And I'd love to talk more about your programs and see how we can I can help you get them further out in the workplace, out in the message into the world, into the city,
Yes,
into the
all all the same, right?
anyway, so it's great having this on this conversation, short conversation. But at least we got to know each other, and certainly we have similar minded thoughts and ideas. And I love the idea that you're working with people that really are challenged mentally, emotionally, and be able to work with them and guide them a little bit further on their path. And commend you for that. So
Thank you.
yeah, so thank you for joining me today, and we'll continue on this conversation another time, I'm sure.
Yay!
Yeah,
Sounds beautiful.
okay, great. Well, thanks for joining me, Corey, and thank you everybody for joining me. And you'll be able to pick up and hear Corey again. You can find the show on Anchor under Impactful Legacy, and of course, you can find it on podcast.heartatworkonline.org, and everybody has a profile page there, and you can actually watch our show there. Anyway, so we'll talk to you all soon, and remember, always be kind. Thank you. Bye bye.